you're working with companies, let's say, who are achieving their product market fit, typically what is your advice to them?
So product market fit can be in any of the stages. The startup who is just starting up, or
Do you think they have these challenges in finding the right tech partners? But what are their challenges in finding that right partner?
three major things, which is
0 to 1 is okay, you have less number of customers, maybe
right.
less transactions happening. But as you try to scale up, how do they measure that?
Quality is something is very important, right, for any of the founders because we built everything in 7 weeks. So the journey of that 7 year struggle we achieved in 7 weeks only.
What has been, as a leader, as the CTO and the CEO, what has been your biggest takeaways?
So one of the biggest takeaways that don't underestimate the power of
Today, I'm excited to be talking to Srinivas Guni, who is the founder and CEO of AppOctet Technologies. He runs a product engineering tech partner organization which works with startups, enterprise organizations, and he has done more than 100 plus projects in the last decade. And they have seen some amazing results of ROI for their clients. They have scaled up product organizations, and more importantly, they have been able to influence product thinking mindset in their client organization. In this conversation today, we actually touch upon some very interesting aspects of what is the difference between a product engineering or tech partner versus a pure play IT services tech partner. We talk about that when organization is looking for a tech partner, whether it is a startup in their 0 to 1 journey or in their 10 to 100 journey, what should be they really looking forward in a tech partner? What are some of the challenges that they face today? We touch about the usage of frameworks that could, if applied in the right timing, in the right way, how can they lead to huge turnaround in terms of the ROI for startups in different phases of their journey. We talk about SaaS 2.0, service as a software, and we speak about how these product engineering organizations are helping their clients to onboard to the journey of AI. So stay tuned in. Hi Srinivas, welcome to this episode of Product Talk with Malthi.
Hi Malthi, thanks for having me here. I'm excited for this podcast.
Same here. All right, let's jump into the today's topic, right? I mean, in the last, since late 90s, I would say India has kind of witnessed emerging a very new industry, which is the IT industry, right? I mean, in the late 90s is when the IT services started to boom. That has become one of the major exporters for the next decades, including now. And in the last, I would say, decade and a half, or maybe close to 2 decades, we have seen in the India startup ecosystem taking a lot of rise, right?
Right.
Now, I was looking at a Deloitte survey in 2022, which says that 79% of product development, application development is outsourced, right?
Correct.
So, and I know personally, having worked with multiple startups, that a lot of their work, irrespective whether they are in 0 to 1 journey or they are in 10 to 100 or 100 plus journey, a lot of their work is also kind of extended or outsourced to external teams. So, to start with, can you educate our audience? What is the difference between an IT services provider versus a product engineering team provider?
That's a great question. I mean, that is an interesting topic because the whole world looks around the IT services. Okay. Now the IT service has become the commodity, right? I mean, now every startup and businesses, they're looking for somebody who can help them in a technology, right? And their search ends only on the IT services because in the world, people know that IT is something that they'll be building everything. But now the way the whole world is changing, right? And as you rightly said about the startup, they are looking to build their own custom software as well as the products, right? So you need somebody who could help you in the product journey, right? So one of the major difference of the IT services and the product engineering is that IT services focuses more on the project mindset, wherein you ask them to build something, they'll build it and get it done. Okay. But what after that? What before that? Right? How? Because business is ever changing, right? Your software should also evolve with the businesses, correct? And the IT services focusing on the project mindset gets you to that level only. Whereas in product engineering, right, it actually focuses on the end-to-end product engineering, right? wherein it is actually solving the problem of the businesses, right? So that is a major difference. And IT services, they focus on the SDLC part of it, wherein you have the software development life cycle, right? Whereas product development, product engineering, they come above that, one level above, right? And you have the complete end-to-end product journey covered there, right? And SDLC become a one part of it, right? And that is where people should understand this. There is a big difference between the IT service and the product engineering, because the journey which you are taking of the 0 to 1, specifically startups and the businesses, the journey they are taking of the 0 to 1, 1 to 10, and 10 to 100, right? You need a strong product mindset people to work on your products. And that is the biggest difference.
Yeah. No, very, very well said, right? And even today, a lot of people have this confusion. Okay, like what is a project mindset versus a product mindset? And you beautifully captured it, that's something constantly, I think bringing customer centricity is a very integral part of product
True.
mindset. As you said, project is kind of something which is kind of running, you have certain deliverables. So it is more output focused versus when you're looking at
Correct.
product mindset, it is more outcome focused, right?
Perfectly
And
summarized. Yeah.
the business part of it, keeping the business as the core, is a very, very important element, which is very integral for companies which are kind of having a product set mindset, right? So
Correct.
this is a brilliant example. Since you have worked with so many startups, so many product organizations, I'm sure you have kind of witnessed this transformation, right? So can you tell me about, when you are working with your clients, how do you influence them to embrace a product thinking mindset? It'll be wonderful if you could also share some examples.
I think this is interesting because it is very difficult task, because they have this mindset of IT services, right? They see that if there is a requirement of the technology, I think we should go to the IT services and they'll get our job done, and which is perfectly fine. I mean, they get these things done, but then soon after that, they realize after 6 months or 1 year that whatever the tech spend they have done so far, it is not actually yielding any result, right? They're not seeing any ROI in their you can say businesses, right? And technology is the backbone, right? So it becomes very difficult and challenging for us as well to influence them or maybe to educate them. But they realize only by burning their hands first. So there are many, you can say examples. We have it. Okay. So they burned their hand before by going to the IT services company. Soon after they realized, okay, so we wanted somebody who could understand this product engineering mindset, okay, to build their products or the tech solutions, right? So whenever we go to them, there is a challenge always, and we influence by saying, we talk about the product, about the business outcomes, about the future readiness of your businesses using the technology. Then only they get influenced about this, because and to somebody who is new, it's like it doesn't matter whether IT service or product engineering. To once they burn their hand, then only they understand this. But now things started to change, okay? Because now if you can see the news as well, right? The IT spend around the world started to decline, and one of the major reasons is the ROI, right? They're not
Right.
seeing the return on investment of the tech which they are trying to do, right? And there we come in the picture. So now there is a challenge, but again, people started to realize this now.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully. And this is again like this kind of a transformation is like a multi-year journey. It is not something that happens overnight. It is like a multi-layered across multiple levels in the organization. So when you are working with any of, having these conversations with the startups or your clients, when you're looking at it, how do you see them kind of embracing? One of the things which you spoke about is the way they are looking at their ROI.
Right.
Right. So when a startup is kind of looking for a tech partner, and in
Mm-hmm.
fact it happens a lot of times when they are kind of getting started, they are probably, I'm talking, let's say, about a 0 to 1 phase. They are
Okay.
talking, they have the idea in mind. They probably understand the problem up to certain extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they are looking for a tech partner, what should they look forward to? What do you advise when a startup is looking for a tech partner? What should they look for?
So there are two things. So there is always the expectation and the challenges, right?
Hmm.
So startups, specifically on in the 0 to 1 journey, right? They get confused who to pick, right? And one thing they're looking for is who could understand our vision and then translate that in a technology. right? So if as a founder or a CXO, if you're finding a tech partner, so you should first understand what they're talking about. Are they talking about what or why? Because IT services will talk about what. Okay, they will ask you, okay, these are the features, give it to us, we'll build it for you. It is
Hmm.
more about build my software, not solve my problem, right? So
Beautifully
that
said.
is exactly. So if you see this, that the product engineering firm is talking about, or any of the team is talking about solving your real world challenges and the problems, and asking you why questions and challenging your assumption as well,
Hmm.
because we have seen many a time founders has hundreds of features to be built. Okay, and when we sit together with them, then we realize there are 90% of those features are not even required. So we always challenge the assumptions of the founders, though they have all the problems. So think of this like a doctor patient relationship, right? So doctor will always ask you a right questions. They know they don't. There are many symptoms, right? Okay, you have a similar symptom for the malaria as well as for the dengue as well, almost similar, right? But doctor only can come to you and ask you right questions. Then only he knows what is the problem to be solved, or
Correct.
not just by blindly giving you the medicine. So this analogy, I think I always give it to every founder before we start together working.
Right.
I think that is how we are seeing the difference now.
But do you think they have these challenges in finding the right tech partners? I mean,
Yes,
expectation is something great that you said that what they should look
yes.
for, but what are their challenges in finding that right partner?
Challenges, there are many challenges because we have been meeting a lot of founders and the CXOs lately. And for them, their mindset is such that you are just the tech vendor, right? Build my feature and give it to me, right? So there are many challenges when they find the partners. They always think about how my vision will be aligned with the tech, right? Okay. And second is time to market. It's very important for them because in all of the stages, whether they are in 0 to 1, 1 to 10, or 10 to 100, you always have the pressure of market. You always have the pressure of investors as well, right? So
Hmm.
in that regard, they always have the time to market challenges as well. So right tech partner will come together with you, okay, to solve that challenge as well. Otherwise, we have seen around 70% of the software projects always go beyond the timeline, okay, and the market is ever changing.
Correct.
In that sense, it becomes very difficult for them to find the right tech partner who understand these challenges as well. At
Right.
the same time, keeping things in budget is also very important. So these are three major things, okay, for founders they are looking for, and they face challenges in these three areas, which is the vision alignment, time to market, and the budget.
Right. Actually,
Yes,
that's those are some great points, but probably I want to go beyond and ask one more question. How about the quality of the product that is being delivered?
right,
How do you see? Do you see that that becomes sometime a challenge for the founders to make sure that the outputs or the product which is being delivered by their tech partner, how do they assess the quality of that product? But like for example, 0 to 1 is okay, you have less number of customers, maybe
right,
less transactions happening, but as you try to scale up, this kind of product becomes your foundation, right? So
correct.
how do they measure that?
Quality is something is very important, right, for any of the founders, because the tech investment which they are doing, right, that should have the ROI, and how to calculate the ROI is very important, right? And that always linked with the quality of the product which you're building. So quality can always be measured, okay, when you have that business metric achieved, right? So when you start the product development, you know what is the something was the goal, right? So once you achieve that, and that is when you can, because see, internally you can't see that what is happening inside that, right? Only tech partners or maybe your development team will know that, right?
Right.
When you talk
Right.
about Zomato, Swiggy, or any of those, right? You don't see as a user or as a client as well. You don't see what is inside your product, correct? But what you see is the outcome, whether it is outcome driven or not. If you're achieving that, or maybe you are going beyond that metric. So let's say, for example, you had this goal of maybe signing up thousands of users, thousand users in a week, right? But now you went beyond that. Now you're getting a subscription of 10,000. In that case, the quality already says that we can support that, right? It is that capable enough, right? And it can also tell you that we targeted 1,000, now we have 10,000. That means it is also scalable, flexible, and reusable as well. So that is you can calculate it. And anyway, you have the internal QA team as well, right, which can guide you.
So if I have to summarize it, what you're saying is that the better job we do in order to set the right business expectations and outcome expectations with the tech partner, the more likely are we to succeed. And of course, we need to have those kind of milestones and checkpoints to make sure that it is built in the right way.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Because technology is changing rapidly, right? So the what solution you have built today might change tomorrow as well. The tech stack keep on changing, right? So you need to adapt as well.
Correct. But keeping it flexible is important,
Is important, right?
right? So that is where all the new age architecture, whether it is
Correct.
microservices and stuff like that,
Should be modular.
right? Keeping it modular.
Yes.
Perfect. Yes, that's very important. Now, I would kind of switch the gears a little bit, and in the conversations that we've had earlier, you have spoken a lot about battle tested frameworks,
Yes.
right? So why are they critical for scaling?
Okay, that's a great question because see, many a time what happens is in any of the journey, right? Founders or CXOs, they go to 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100, right? In all of the stages, challenges are very different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for them, it's an uncharted territory, to be honest, right?
Right.
So having the, you can say, it's a compass. You can say that you have a multiple frameworks for a different stages, right? And that is battle tested already on some of the businesses and the products. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it is very important to have that framework so that it can give you that boost, right? Because you can't firefight in every of the stages, right?
Mm.
You need to have some of the frameworks in place so that whenever the challenges come, you have the framework which can help you out. Similar to what you see in the hospitals as well, right? I mean, doctors they don't do the firefighting. Okay, so I'll use this injection maybe, or maybe I'll try this. They don't try anything. It is a framework there already with them. They've already studied that. They
Right.
know how to manage this.
Right.
Correct. So in the firefighting, the patient might die. So it is very important in the 0 to 1, 1 to 10, any of the stages of your business, having a right framework for this scale is very important. It can
Got it.
optimize your process. It can handle all the scales which you require.
Can
Yeah.
you give us an example?
Definitely. I'll give you an example. There are many frameworks we have built internally, right? So one of the framework which we built was 3P framework. Okay. So this is for the 1 to 10 and 10 to 100 stages of the businesses,
Mm-hmm.
wherein they found the PMF already. They have the users already using it. Now they want to create a structure, or maybe they have already have the structure, but they need to optimize those processes, right? So you
Okay.
always have the challenges of growth, one side, and optimizing your internal process as well. I was talking about 3P, right? So this is the framework which can be applied on specifically on the 1 to 10 and 10 to 100 stages of the startup or the businesses, right? Because by then they have already achieved the PMF. They already have the a good number of users using it, right? And 10 to 100 stages, they are actually looking to dominate now, right? They
Right.
have the market, you can say, competition as well. So definitely, they would have all this, you can say, demand growing up in their business, right? They should have. So they have two challenges for them. One is growth, wherein you are acquiring customers as well as you are retaining customers. That is one of the challenge. Second is your internal process to handle those, right? Or maybe there is a problem going on to handle those demand, right? How will you measure that, right? So we have a
Right.
3P framework which can actually tell you this is kind of a diagnostic framework you can call it, okay? So we ask one question first: who is that person who is using it, okay?
Okay.
In the 3P framework, we have the process first, which is what is the process to solve this problem, okay? Do you have that process in place? Check that whether it is working fine. Yes, if it is working fine, that means there is a problem of the people who are using it, to educate them. So we call who is that person who is using it. That is a
Right.
people problem, right? So you're going above now. There is no process problem. Process is already there, right? But now there is a people problem. That means you need to educate, or somewhere you need to make sure that it's a guided approach in the system, right? Which
Hmm.
can help them
Hmm.
out to solve that problem, right? Or maybe you can train them externally.
Right.
If you pass these two stages, then you have already got the answer, right? Okay, so there is no process problem, there is no people problem. That means the product was not built according to the requirement. So
Hmm.
then that's the product problem. So
Okay.
these are the three frameworks we use, 3P framework.
Yeah. So I think that kind of helps you to kind of segregate and look at one
Yes,
particular element at one point of time so
correct.
that you are able to do an effective root cause analysis.
Yes, yes.
Got it. Got it. And especially, the having the right tech. If I have to kind of move from a slightly more focused area on the tech, it's like that's like the backbone which helps system companies to move very seamlessly from
Right.
one stage of growth to the next stage of growth,
Correct.
right? So are there any more examples that you want to kind of share about where you have kind of applied your frameworks, or you have kind of helped them move from one stage of growth to another stage of growth?
So one of the clients, he was struggling since last 7 years, right? He was working with a lot of IT services company to build his product, and they are into housing party, okay, similar to what District and the Zomato has, right? Or the Book
Okay.
My Show. So they were struggling with this, wherein they had this PMF, okay, already accomplished, right? Now they were moving to 1 to 10 journey, now 10 to 100 journey as well, right? So we worked together, okay, for the 1 to 10 journey. We realized they were facing a lot of challenges in terms of operations as well as growth, because
Okay.
whatever the platform they had built was not actually attracting the right users. That is the number one thing. And the second was the operations flow they had, okay, in their internal team was not up to the mark to handle those. We had our own framework which we applied in that, right? So for the operation challenges, which drastically reduced 80% of the operation challenges, okay, all of the manual and semi-automated version we came up with, okay, in the phase one. And the growth, for the growth stage, what we had done is we completely re-engineered the platform, okay, so that
Okay.
they could now they could now be attracted to new users who are coming up, right? Specifically Gen Zs and the millennials. Okay, so these are the major things. So now our framework which we applied here was a DT, which is DTM, okay, which is what, diagnostic, treatment, and muscle building.
Okay.
That is what it is. So what we have done is we realized, because they were facing these issues in last 7 years, right? So we sat down and then we applied this framework. We did the diagnosis for 1 week to understand what it is. And again, the same three free frameworks we came up with for the operations as well as for the growth stages, growth they were looking for, right? So once we applied this framework, we understood what needs to be fixed, right? And to be operated on. So that was the stage of the treatment. So we came up with a phase-wise approach. We said, okay, so for phase one, let's not do much of the thing. Let's focus on the MMP now, which is minimum marketable product. Your product is not sellable at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Though there are a lot of things which you are doing at the moment, but it is not sellable in the market, not marketable in the market. So we
Mm.
package that first, okay.
Okay.
And he had a lot of features to be built, and he also had this mind to come up with the mobile application. But we said, no, let's not go with the mobile application. Let's
Okay.
So this framework actually gives you a lot of insight whether where to spend your money as well and where to focus on. So the diagnosis stage gives you a lot of insight after this. So once we came up with that, now the treatment was what? To rebuild the complete platform or come up with the new features. So we said, let's stop the new features. Let's focus on the single problem, which is how to attract or solve your operation challenges well. Okay. So they list the parties. Okay. So it's like a house party. So there are hosts and the guests, right?
Got it.
So hosts and guests was not able to understand how the whole platform works, right? Because that was not, you can say, intuitive enough compared to Airbnb, or because they are coming from what? They are using Zomato regularly. They're using District, maybe they are using Instagram. So those, you can say, users come into this platform, right? So they would need similar to what they are seeing in that platform.
High quality product.
Exactly, right. Okay, so then we re-engineered everything from the start, okay, and then it was a hit. So in just after 2 weeks of launch, okay, we built everything in 7 weeks. So the journey of that 7 year struggle, we achieved in 7 weeks only, right? And
Wow.
he saw 300% growth. So that is the power of framework, right? So we got the diagnostics done. Now we got the treatment done, right? With the right approach, because now you are actually giving the medicine of the, you can say, brain cancer, not the bypass surgery, right? So that is how it is. I don't know the health terms, but in short, I'm talking about that. Then after that, he realized, okay, so he had so many features in his bucket list. Now he realized, okay, no, we need to go with this framework only. Okay, you tell us how this should be taken forward, and then thereon, now we are in the phase three. We have achieved phase one, phase two, and phase three. And he also applied for the Shark Tank, and he got selected in first, second round, and maybe he did not go through the third round. And there are many, and earlier there were many investors he was chasing, and the brands as well. Now they are coming to him now because he has seen a completely different version of the platform they were looking for 7 years,
Wow.
right? That is the power of this framework. Now we are at the stage of muscle building. Treatment is done already, right? Now treatment is done. Now we need to create that kind of a muscle so that we can get that kind of scale now. So that is the power of framework. So I think every founder should focus on the tech partner who has this kind of framework already inbuilt in their system.
Yeah, no, I think that's a amazing example and story of transformation. And you are right, instead of just having a whole bucket list of features and saying, I'm going to build this, go small, go narrow, see whatever you have built, what is working, what is not working, accordingly give the treatment. As you said, I mean, now our users are spoiled, especially if you're in a B2C space, our users are spoiled for choices. They are very used to high quality products, right? So experience has to be as much integral, as much only, pure play thinking from a tech perspective. And actually, that's a very interesting conversation, and I wanted to understand, I mean, probably you can extend more about this particular customer or a very generic approach. But when there are these founders, especially those who are in 1 to 10 or 10 to 100 space, they probably already have a team. They are already running some of their own diagnostics and stuff like that, right? So at this point of time, when you are coming as an external product team, how do you kind of integrate yourself with their team? What is your operating model, and how do you develop the acceptance? I think, because see, while their leader might be very keen to get you in, it is a matter of, you working very closely with their existing teams, cross functional teams. So how do you make that happen?
Interesting question. I mean, we have been working in this model since a long time. So there are many companies you're working with. They already have the tech team, right? But they do understand this, that having an external team who has the product mindset, because they see that because they're working as a tech, you can say tech mindset, right? To run the show. But
Hmm.
whereas whenever they talk about product, they always blend together, right? I
Hmm.
mean, so when we meet them, so we actually like them only, right? We understand tech well, right? So it's not something that there is always a friction. But again, in the start there are, but after that we get along because
Okay.
we understand the lingo well, right?
Okay.
At the same time, they learn a lot of things from us, and even we learn a lot of things from them.
Okay.
So it's a co-creation model, right? So I think there is a teamwork always will come up. But at the same time, when you give them something new, they would get attracted to you because
Right.
there are certain things which we are doing. Maybe we are doing. There are very few people are doing it. The product engineering,
Right.
0.1% of in the world people are doing it, right? So they see something different in our approach. So they
Hmm.
get attracted to it and they get along with us.
Yeah, yeah. So I think you said it beautifully. One is the co-creation aspect of it. And once they start to work with you, the value that they see that you bring on to the table, and of course, with all the success stories and stuff. So I think that kind of helps build the credibility, build the momentum, and take it from there. And I think that's a brilliant way of saying. Now let's come to what is, I'm sure after AI has kind of taken the world by storm right now, and that would also mean expectation from your customer base. So what are the kind of initiatives that you are taking, and what are some of the kind of collaborations and new initiatives that you are taking is kind of in your world right now?
Okay. So if you talk about client perspective, so there is a FOMO and the FOBO. Many of our clients, okay, they are in the FOMO and the FOBO as well because they are thinking that we are in the fear of missing out or as well as fear of becoming obsolete, right? So they think that we'll go out of the business if we don't adapt, which is good enough, which is a good fear to have. But at the same time, not every industry needs that AI at the moment because AI is still in the progress, right? We have not seen the ROI yet.
Yeah.
There are very few, you can say, industry wherein AI is showing the result at the moment, right? Specifically, when you talk about healthcare in the diagnostic stage, they are definitely using it, right? And they are repetitive and mundane tasks, right? For example, customer support executive, right? They are being replaced now, right? So businesses are thinking to cut down those costs, and which is fair enough, right? And our client also, they are coming up with a request to have the AI in their system and their businesses as well. So what we see that not every business is ready to have that AI. Okay,
Okay.
integrations to be done, right? But at the same time, we tell them to start with a very basic thing, which is predictive analytics or maybe a data analytics, wherein you have your own data, right? And you can utilize those and to come up with a decision making. So there
Okay.
we are actually applying that. For example, having a recommendation engine in place, or maybe the sales focus in place. All of this AI we can definitely start with, and there are certain maybe chatbots as well. So all of this horizontal AI.
Hmm.
So I think I've been suggesting my client to start with the horizontal AI first. Okay,
Okay.
because you have chatbots there, you have customer support executive, etc., etc. There are many which is generic, right, for across industry. I think you start with that first, and then go with the vertical AI. So that is the reaction which we are seeing because they are in the FOBO at the moment. But at the same time, we have not seen the ROI yet in the world. Correct.
Okay.
So if you're spending $1, you should return it. You should get the $3 in return, right? When you're investing something. So we have also seen many of the cases wherein they have applied, they have deployed the AI, but they have not seen any of the ROI. In fact, they lost the money. So I think it is premature stage, I would say, for the businesses at least. Okay, there are many enterprises that are maybe piloting things, which is good. I think we should be in the piloting stage at the moment. Okay,
Yeah.
after 1 year or 2 years, I think we should be focusing more on deploying the AI.
No, I think if I have to just summarize, you said it very well. I think right now businesses are going through this phase of fear of missing out or fear of becoming obsolete. And I think left, right, and center, many of them are putting budgets to at least start doing
Yes,
POCs. And in fact, you're right. I was reading, I don't recollect the exact numbers, but a BCG report which says that more than 70% of organizations are yet to see strong ROIs, right?
yes,
But yes, as you said, I think there are opportunities for uh, doing POCs or experimenting, maybe in improving customer experience like chatbots, to at least get started on that journey
yes,
for these companies, right? So
correct.
yeah, and in that context, I think a very another transformation that we are seeing is we started with this whole SaaS model. I
Hmm.
think almost a decade and a half back, right? Where
Right,
it was software as a service.
correct.
And now with the whole technology innovation that we are seeing is that where service as a software, that
Right,
what we call as SaaS 2.0
correct.
is kind of evolving, right? How
Right.
do you think businesses are taking to this?
You must have seen there are a lot of SaaS applications being used in the organization, right? For HR, you have for payroll, you have many, right? But the thing is that there are many features you're not even using it. So it is bloated already,
Hmm.
correct?
Right.
Right? And at the same time, you have the services because organization always need the services. There is a handholding needed, right? But services is labor intensive, right? And it is actually expensive as well, right? So there is a need of a midway which can cover all these two,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the reason why you have this services as a software coming up, right? In future, you will see that. And at the same time, you don't need hundreds of people to work on something. You will need only
Right.
10 people now,
Right.
right? So that is where the SaaS 2.0 will be.
Correct. I think that's what the emergence of the agents and the automation part of it that we are
Perfect.
talking
Yes.
about,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I've been pretty impressed, that at AppOctet, you have worked more than 100 plus projects with very strong product mindset, right?
Right.
So, what has been, as a leader, as the CTO and the CEO, what has been your biggest takeaways running this for close to a
Hmm.
decade now?
So one of the biggest takeaways that don't underestimate the power of technology. Okay, and that is the biggest lesson I've learned in any of the businesses I worked with. I worked on the grassroots level, and whenever you have challenges going on, and technology is something that can help you out. Okay,
Hmm.
and there is to be a term called sales solves everything of the business problem, right? And that is now it is changing now because technology is something that will actually help you out to grow.
Correct.
Otherwise, you'll be obsolete. So that FOBO definitely will be there. So that is the biggest takeaway. Second is that whenever I've been working with a lot of founders and the CXOs, right, and the businesses as well. So one thing I realized is that they see a technology investment not as an investment, as an expense. They should start seeing this as an investment because
Beautifully said.
that is something that will take you to the future at present and keep your present intact.
Right.
That is the biggest lesson I've learned.
No, I think that's a fair point. So earlier, I think technology, as you beautifully said, has moved from a enabler to, just in from a supporting function. It is kind of now in the mainstream function
True.
where businesses are saying, can that also be a revenue generator for us and not
Exactly.
helping us with the automation or improving just the customer experience. So I think that's brilliantly said. And probably I'll move on, now with a lot of, again, since you said that technology is something that we cannot underestimate, and there has been a lot of data points that we get that a lot of code that is being generated today is being done by AI, right?
Yes.
So what do you think would that mean for engineers?
So that will be a debatable topic now. Okay. Because see, yes, AI has that capability of generating a code, right? And in fact, we have been using the same. We have been using all of the tools which we could use as an AI. ChatGPT is one of them, right? So it doesn't actually remove anything. It actually amplify the productivity of the software engineers, right? I mean, it is helping them to focus not only on the code. Now you are focusing on the engineering part of it, solving
Hmm.
the problem. Your main focus is now. Earlier, we used to do a lot of this coding, right? Wherein you were creating the API, you were creating your functions, your application, etc., etc. Your energy would go in developing that, right?
Correct.
And now the tools are taking care of this, and you should focus on the engineering part of it and how the outcome should be, right? And how it should solve the problem of the businesses and the real world. And that
Correct.
is the focus is shifting. So yes, so you must have seen in industry revolution as well, right? There are a lot of different jobs which go went extinct, right? You never seen the software engineer before 1970, right? That was after 1970, right?
Hmm.
When you saw this computer coming up, right? The computer revolution coming up, right? And then after that, maybe 2005 or six, right? You saw the digital marketing, the new category coming up, right? From the marketing. So you will see this evolution going up here as well. So you will see this evolution of the software engineer as well. So earlier you needed maybe hundreds of engineers. Now you only need 10 engineers who understand the business well, who understand the problem statement well, who understand the product well, and they can do the multiplier work which the other 90% was doing it. Okay,
Yeah.
so it is a good to have problem, I would say. At the same time, it's a message to software engineers as well to upgrade themselves
Correct.
and focus on the problem statement and solving the problem of the real
Correct.
world.
So that
Yes,
helps them to, number one, make tool as their friends. Number two, helps them to improve their productivity. And I think the third thing is to focus on more high value work.
perfectly summed up. Yes,
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, that's very well said. And I think right now we are still in this phase of I would say evolution. So how this whole space pans out
and that
is
is where, sorry to interrupt, that is where I just got to know this. I mean, so like I said, that people were focusing on the SDLC part of it. Now, once the invention of the AI generated code, right? Now you will focus on the PDL.
correct.
Now the focus will shift to the PDLC now, right? Product development lifecycle. Now the people will, software engineers and all the coders, they know that code will be generated by the Gen AI tools, right? But now I need to focus on the product development.
I agree.
So
I
that
agree.
shift you start seeing it now.
It will give them more time to build their customer empathy, to really
Correct.
understand whatever they are building,
Yes.
make it much more business relevant, make it much more customer relevant.
Right.
So that frees up some part of that time. Of course, they still need to make sure
And
that
they
the
need to
code which is
embrace it as well, right? I mean,
correct,
the employer dynamics is changing now.
correct,
So even they would understand sooner or later that even they need to adapt. And people are actually doing it as well.
correct,
We already started in our company.
right,
We are giving them the training for the product mindset and the product development, right? And we know that we need to solve the business problem, not just write a code. So we need to have the, you can say, feature bloated products, right? And code being delivered, right? You need to have the solution being delivered.
correct.
So that is the transition you will start seeing in all of the services company as well,
Yeah, I mean, this is going to have a massive, I would say, transformative effect across
right?
all verticals, across all segments. So that is correct. Now, I probably have another question, right? That when you're working with companies, let's say who are achieving their product market fit,
Yeah.
right? Typically, what is your advice to them? I mean, I would not only your clients, but anybody out who's listening to this podcast and they are in the process of, reaching their product market fit. What would be your advice to them?
Okay. So product market fit can be in any of the stages, right? The startup who is just starting up, or the businesses who are in the 1 to 10 journey, but they want to build a new product in that case, and 10 to 100 as well, right? See, any of the stages, one thing which is very common, which I have seen, is analysis paralysis,
Mm-hmm.
right? Every founders and CXOs, they go into analysis paralysis that we need to build this and that, but they are not focusing on the problem. Focusing on the problem for that particular PMF is very important. So pick up one or two major problems and focus on that, and avoid the analysis paralysis is something that I would say, because the world is moving so fast. By the time you are coming up with the idea and the solution in mind, right, or the execution plan, by then the whole world is moving. So that is very important. So that is something that I have seen in the PMF stage.
Yeah.
So build quickly, fail quickly, and then adapt quickly. That is something that I would say.
Yeah. No, that is very well said. And you're
And
right. I
also
mean,
one more thing is very important is that in the PMF stages, right, we always start with something with a blank slate, right? But after once you achieve the PMF, it is very important to preserve the data which you have,
mm,
right? Because that will help you to go in the next stage, which is 1 to 10. Because data is the gold now, right? Otherwise, you will be again firefighting and coming up with a difference, and you will lose that direction as well.
so never lose sight of your data.
Correct.
While you need to be very informed, data informed, don't get into the zone of analysis paralysis.
Right.
Trust your gut, and continue to stay focused on your problem statement is
And
what I'm
find a
kind of,
right tech partner
and find the
who can
right
help
tech
you out.
partner to scale up. So
Yes.
that's what I'm taking up with. Thank you, Srinivas. This is like a really amazing, and this is the first time, when I'm kind of getting a very different lens, that a very critical partner for
Yes.
any product, for any tech product, for any startup, or for any application software development. What is the value that they bring to the table? What is the kind of transformation that they could lead for a product team? I think this has been fantastic experience for me to listen into. So thank you so much for taking the time out and adding so much of value to our audience.
Thank you, Malti. Same here. I've enjoyed this podcast, and even I enjoyed the different perspective from your side as well.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for opportunity.
Thank you.